So what we usually do is we call for problems. Um, Brendan, are you on the developer side or are you on the client or the user side in terms of WordPress?
Both, but yeah, more on the developer side. I've been
Okay.
doing agency work for the last, I don't know, 10 years.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Um, and I believe that's kind of the case for most of the other folks here. We don't have any user level folks. I mean, obviously, we're all users, and we're here to support each other and answer each other's question, offer each other resources in the WordPress space. Also, I cast a bit of a wider net because most of us are small business people, and there are topics that are maybe not specifically or exclusively WordPress, but that would be of interest to those of us in the small business space. So we usually call for problems as we gather. Is anyone bringing a specific issue that they'd like to discuss with the group? When we get, we're going to do Holly's presentation first, of course, and then we'll get to more the general part of the meeting. But does anybody have an issue that they'd like to bounce off of the rest of us? Okay. Well, I'll probably put out just kind of generally speaking, and Daryl and I have spoken about this. I'm at the point where I'm kind of making the transition from freelancer to an agency model. I've got a number of resources in place, but I'm looking to make the move to a more organized business model as opposed to kind of a well, freelancer model where it's it's kind of loosey goosey and less specified and structured. And I wouldn't mind hearing from some of you how if you have maybe all we have is freelancers, but if you have experience in that, what resources you use, that sort of thing. So why don't we go on to our intros? Since this is your first time, have you been here before, Brendan?
Nope, first time.
Okay. Why don't we start with you? We
Sure.
introduce ourselves, take a minute or two, tell us who you are, where you are, what you do, why you're here. Um, I also kind of do it slash ideas for the group moving forward, and maybe your biggest WordPress or business challenge. So, Brendan, take it away.
Yeah. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, you and I spoke, I guess, like last month, and I mentioned that I'm not new to the area, I'm not really new to WordPress, but I'm new to these meetups and trying to get involved more to just meet people and put myself out there, see what other people are doing and learn from them and also maybe help people out. I think everyone's out at a different part of the journey. We're all on the same journey to improve our skills and get more clients and do good work, hopefully. And so yeah, I've been doing that for almost the past decade, I guess. I work full time for an agency that is pre WordPress, and we had a lot of sort of legacy Ruby on Rail clients that are still on that. And probably 5 years ago, I spearheaded the transition from that to WordPress, and so it's been great, but it's had its challenges. And that's I work remotely basically up in Santa Barbara is where my agency is. I live down in San Diego, and so I've been working remotely since about 2019. And yeah, I mean, I freelance a little bit too, and I've been wanting to educate others too, like share what I learn. I always love just learning things and sharing it. So I have a small YouTube channel where I share some tutorials with WordPress and different page builders and things like that. Getting into all things development and design, all that stuff. So I love it all. I love new technologies and love sharing it with people. So I'm here to learn from all you guys and maybe give back whatever I can.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. A rising tide raises all boats. We're here. the whole thing about this group is mutual aid, and regardless of what level you are or where you are in your evolution as a WordPress user. Let's turn it over to Mr. Daryl Oberg up in the Great White North.
Oh, I'm not muted. Okay. Yeah, I'm Daryl. I'm in Kelowna. It's a small little city in Canada. And yeah, I have an agency. We specialize in paid advertising and we support around that with conversion rate optimization, conversion tracking, and as needed, we can help with website, whatever else is needed. But actually, I prefer to bring in people to help with that because I don't really want to be involved in that end of things, social media, creative. So we usually bring people in for that or do referrals. We've been doing this ads for 7 years, marketing since 2013, 2014, video, built websites, and I settled on PPC. And yeah, I'm just here to
Good.
help, and we get an
And,
interesting mix of different experience and talent here and
and
needs
your
for
company's name
networking.
is?
Pardon me?
Your company's name is?
BYD Internet Marketing.
There you go. And by the way, as you're giving your introduction or at any point in our meeting, I welcome you to put your contact info in the chat, as complete or incomplete as you choose. Um, and that way we can all save the chat and have each other's contact info. And
And
comes, yeah,
Edward, so
yes,
we actually have a system. So Holly and I, we have packages and we actually had to make scopes of work and structure stuff. So you can be in agencies, but still utilize contractors, but you can have it structured. So when you bring the person in, it's basically like they're an employee. So you know expectations, all pretty much predefined. That's how we've done it for our different services. So it's very well defined with the client ahead of time. We say, here's what you can expect. That's a trick. You have to have your packages and scopes of work and things like just like an agency would on the back end. Then you can either hire an employee in-house, and there's people that have employees no more than me, right? I'm not, oh, but this is what worked for me. So you can either at some point put an employee to take that role, or you can then have contractors. But it's very structured. So when you're presenting to the client, it's consistent. Basically, treat it so anyone could fill that role. You create roles they can fill. Someone
okay,
fills.
okay.
I'm going to
Yeah,
pass
I'm
it
hoping to
to.
get to the point where when you get to the brass ring webdesign.com website and you go to the About Us page, right now there's information about me, my background, some philosophy stuff, that sort of thing. But like the idea of seeing a website where you have, a picture of Daryl. Daryl is our lead ad specialist. Here's Holly. She's in charge of content strategy for us. Greg is in charge of shoveling snow up in the. No, I'm still not sure what your specialty is. Sorry, Greg, but you know what I mean. There's a specialty and there's a face, and I think that's in overall marketing. People like to see that. They like to see that it's not Benji sitting in a call center in New Delhi who's going to be doing my website today, and then next week it'll be somebody else, and if I need any changes, good luck, because Edward, the guy whose name is actually on the website, has no clue what Benji did, that sort of thing, as opposed to having a team sort of thing. That's what I'm shooting for. But anyway, so there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, as long as you can get the cat to sign up for the whole thing. That brings us to Greg. Greg, tell
Hmm.
us all about you.
Well, real briefly, started programming IBM systems back in the early 70s. Went through all of their gear up until the late 90s. Lost a job at that time. Went fishing for a few months. Um, Kept hearing about internet this and internet that, and I got to get me some. And I started Graybeard. And about 3 years into that, the market that I found myself targeting, which was outdoor recreation, those people didn't spend money on a sustained basis, but where the market for sustained revenue was e-commerce. And I have since then built or worked on hundreds of e-commerce sites. First with a cart called Storefront, and then with Product Cart. And at this point, I'm beginning to wind down my career, but SEO is something that's critically important to my client base. WordPress is an area that many of my clients are interested in. So it's worth just coming in and hanging out and learning what folks have to offer.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, always good to see you, Greg. And that brings us to Mike, my good friend up in Washington.
Yeah, I'm Mike from Spokane. I manage about a dozen websites. I run WordPress and e-commerce and meetups every week. And I've been coming to this meetup ever since Edward decided to fire back up again. What's that getting to be, 10 months, a year ago?
Actually, it was October of 2022, so it's
So
been
over a year
a
and
year
a
and a
half.
half. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to make as many of these as I can, and I appreciate learning every little bit that I can.
And you're always a welcome. Oh, there's Travis. And you're always a welcome addition. Um, and so if we give Travis a second to connect and get his audio and camera going. Welcome, Travis. I don't know if you hear me yet, probably not. But we're going through introductions, and as soon as you are camera and audio ready, we're doing our introductions, which are basically who you are, where you are, what you do, why you're here, any ideas you might have for us moving forward, and your biggest WordPress or business challenge. So sorry to put you in the hot seat, but Mr. Travis Elmer here in San Diego, California. Go ahead.
Escondido, California.
Escondido, yeah.
Travis, run Laser Engraver Pro, little e-commerce business, and I'm here to learn.
Short and sweet, and always good to see you, sir. Do you mind if I have you read our guidelines, Travis, since you still are unmuted?
I guess I can. WordPress Web Help Meetup Group.
You can just read the guidelines part.
Just down there. Okay. All
Yeah.
comments and discussions should be respectful of others. Please add a profile photo to your Zoom account so we can still see your face when you turn off your camera. Please raise your virtual hand if you'd like to speak. Mute your microphone when you aren't speaking. During speaker presentations, type the questions in the chat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elmer. And which brings us to Holly, our presenter for the night. So what I'll do is I'll put her slide up in form of introduction-ish. And let's have her introduce herself. And if you're ready, Holly, we'll just have you go into your presentation right after your introduction. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I've been in marketing for a long time. I started in digital marketing, working with a major nonprofit and broadcast media. And I got dragged kicking and screaming into the world of digital marketing. And I became quite enchanted with what's possible with the world of marketing now, and how you can just target people so much more easily. You're not buying a TV spot that's playing during the Bill Cosby show. Geez, I just dated myself. You can get laser focused on who you want to talk to. And so I guess I've been into this gig now for about 15 years with the digital space, worked with some very high profile clients. I like small clients too. You work with the high profile ones, you get a big paycheck, and then they drop off and, well, you're scrambling. So I'll get my presentation. I've kept this presentation, by the way, very simple. in the hopes that you will have questions.
And I'm stopping sharing my screen. I co-hosted you, so you should be able to share your screen.
There we go.
And it's all about you. Thank
All
you.
right. I got things all over the place here. All right, there we go. So how this came up for me is recently I started working on quite a big project, and I was working with the web developer, a great, incredibly talented web developer. So it was pretty cool as the marketing person to be there at ground zero, to develop the content, knowing what I wanted to do with it because I am the marketing director on this project. Usually I end up stepping into an existing digital community, and I'm faced with the challenge of working with that website, and it almost always requires changes. In order to fit into a marketing strategy, there has to be optimizations, which ends up costing money, and it takes time. So it delays the whole process. You can't hit the ground running. So what I got discovered as we got going with this build was that the designer's objective and mine were not aligned in any way. I knew he was going to put together a slick and fantastic website, but none of it was going to be usable for the marketing strategies that I was developing. It just wasn't going to be possible. And we sort of we didn't lock horns, but it became a big challenge that delayed my process of getting this project off the ground by about 3 months, which of course the client didn't want. Now, I got to get to the next slide. And I haven't done this for a while. Oh, there we go. So the upside of bringing this sort of idea to developing your website is you're going to consider the user experience on your site, the user navigation. And yes, contrary to what Edward wanted, I am just probably going to read most of this. But I really need this to get hammered home. If you're starting to create the buyer journey right out of the gates, right when you're mapping out your website, you're setting yourself up for success. You're going to be in a position where you're going to have shareable content for your digital marketing. You're going to have a plan for when you're ready to scale, because you're going to think about it right now. Maybe you don't have 6 blogs to load in right now, but you'll already have the space and the design and a vague idea of where you're going with it. Mapping out the buyer journey at this stage is going to support all your marketing strategies so powerfully. You're going to have images selected that are going to align with the content strategies at various levels. You're going to be able to share this content onto social channels, and it saves so much time. When the content is on the website, you load the URL into a social channel, and the content is right there. It's just loading natively. And this is also going to give you many entrance points into the funnel, and content that's going to appeal to users wherever they're at in the state of the buyer journey. And that's what we're going to talk about next. And Daryl and I, in working together, have found this to be an absolute truth in the world of marketing. It all starts, your buyer journey is going to start with this really important statistic. 5% of your visitors know you and trust you or are ready to complete at any given time. There's ebbs and flows to that, but you're always dealing with that 5%. The other 95%, they don't know you, they don't trust you, and they need to be nurtured along to move them into their time in the 5%, which is why you design the content for both groups of people. A 5% user is going to be drawn into the top of the funnel with awareness, interaction. They need to be fed short, concise content. Sorry, I reversed that. They need to be fed full, full, comprehensive, detailed information that's going to get them clicking into a call to action, which is going to have give me your email address, give me your phone number, or send me an email. The 95%, they're not ready for that. That would be way too high friction to serve up to a 95%er. They need those short bullet points. They need the images that compel them to click through. They need compelling information. That's the tripping over my words. That's the engaging visuals, succinct points. And as they click through, they're going to go in deeper into the funnel and get more comprehensive information. Warm prospects, they're just going to go straight to interest and action. So the top of the funnel, and by the way, if anybody has any questions about this at any time, just let me know. I've lost the chat window. So top of funnel is all about raising awareness. It's about serving up information that is low friction, it's easy, it's inviting, it's compelling. First question is, ask yourself, if a user is on your website for the very first time and they're looking at your main page, is what you're serving them absolutely straight to the point, clear communication about what your offering is? I can't even tell you how many times I've tried to put together a marketing strategy or work with a client and I go to their main page and I have no idea what they really do. We just don't think in terms of who's landing on our page. So the kind of content you're going to serve are images that follow best practices, that are visually stimulating and really powerfully connect with the words that you're choosing in your bullet points. You want to make sure that the copy showcases your offering really clearly and concisely. There's not a lot of words going on here. They need smooth, quick navigation to click further into the funnel. And each area of expertise that you can serve people needs to have a clickable button that's going to guide them deeper into an appropriate place on your funnel. This also it becomes a very valuable asset in your digital marketing strategies when you've got these calls to action that lead deeper into the funnel with new URLs. You've got diverse sharing for your social channels. The middle of the funnel is where we start building trust and authority. We're offering more in-depth information about areas of expertise. This area can be more copy heavy. People are interested or willing to digest more content. You're still going to be using images and graphics to demonstrate some of your points because it adds interest, it adds great navigation. You have their interest. Now it's time to showcase the offerings and educate them. Mid-funnel content is also always going to lead them to the bottom of the funnel. So what kind of content is appropriate in the middle of the funnel? Bios. I think Edward talked about that a few minutes ago. Team member bios. You want to humanize yourself. You want the visitor to your site to understand who they're going to be working with. And then add a little bit of information about personal stuff. I love my cat. I love my dog. I have 3 kids. But make sure they also know what you can bring to them. And that's what they want to know. They want to know what you can bring to them. Now, client testimonials, those are the people who already trust you. Show off who's trusting you already. Demonstrate your expertise and your leadership through the words of testimonials. Video content at this stage is golden. Video is always the queen of the cream of the crop. And as we've talked about YouTube a little bit tonight too. Now, when I'm doing this, I like to have the videos native to the website so I can drive traffic back to the website on social channels, but you can also show them off in YouTube. And blogs. Blogs are great content in mid-funnel. They'll also show up in bottom funnel. But in a blog, as with everything else, you're going to put a link through to deeper into the funnel or into a call to action. I feel like I'm talking too fast. So now if you get people to the bottom of the funnel, you've been successful here. This is where you want to be positioned as you're trusted, you have authority, you've provided enough information that people are ready to digest more information, or they're looking at the forums you have on your website. All content here is highly informative, is designed to elicit the desired response. So you want the high quality blog content, and always a learn more or contact us. You want articles and announcements, press releases, and white papers. In this space, you can give up something of valuable for free too. Like give a little bit of information, a bit of a teaser to get people to click through for a newsletter. Or fill out the form for you to contact them. And if you give them, especially in your white papers, if you give away a solution to a problem in a white paper, people will remember you. They will come back to your website. And now this brings us to our last slide. I hope some of you have questions because I know this was really quick. When you're designing your website and the buyer journey is part of the strategy for building your website, you're nurturing your prospects or visitors. You've thought through great navigation on a user-friendly gradient where people are not threatened. They're going to go through there organically because it feels right for them. They're on a learning path. You've already got future marketing campaigns in mind because you've already thought it through. And so you're going to be able to have diverse shares and visually appealing content on your social media because you've set yourself up for that. But most importantly, you've got entry points into your funnel that's going to serve the 5%, the 95%, and everything in between. And as you scale your business, you're going to find it can happen so much more easily because you've already thought it through. So that's it. Any questions?
I put one in there. You don't have to know the answers to it because it ties into a common theme when you're dealing with the creative and then trying to rank a website.
Were you able to get your chat back, Holly?
No, hang on, let me, yeah.
Well, or Daryl, you want to read your question to her?
Okay. How do you find it easiest to work with in the website process to make the conversion rate optimization, on-page SEO, and site structure align, to make it easier for you, easier for the client, easier for the team, right? Because when you're trying to align all these things, it's interesting, right? Because you come from the creative side and then the technical side, so it ranks.
Yeah.
It's an art, right?
It is. And when I'm doing is on the web build, like I didn't have the advantage of being able to look into Google Analytics 4. But when I'm working with an existing website and I'm putting together the marketing plan and we've got some data collected in GA4, I can see where users are spending their time. I can see their traffic patterns. The same with social media. I can see what kind of content the audience is engaging with. Nothing matters more than your audience. Nothing. When you know your audience, when you know what they want to digest, when you know what interests them and how high friction content you can serve to them, you got a magic formula for bringing them down deep into the funnel and converting them. The SEO matters. You're going to get that out of Google Analytics 4. On a brand new web build, we were kind of shooting in the dark. We didn't have a keyword searches done. Did I answer your question, Daryl?
Well, sort of. So which brings me to a question. This isn't a contest. It's because I see this right often. So when you're building out a website, you can actually do keyword research and have the site structure where the pages are ahead of time.
Yeah.
Do you find that helps when you're trying to, with these strategies you're discussing?
Yeah.
Or do you find sometimes it makes it more difficult? I'm kind of just trying to understand too, right? Because there are two different approaches. It's here's what Google says. Here's how most sites are structured that are ranking, for example. If someone said to you, Holly, we need you to write like this, do you ever find that goes against what you would do? And then you kind of feel like you're fighting with Google and how it looks like the best site structure should be?
Well,
The pages and the URLs and how they link?
Okay, that's a couple of different levels there.
Yeah, it's complex. You don't have to know the answers.
Well, here's what happened with the project that I was referring to earlier. we started with a really small budget, so we didn't have any SEO done, period, before we started it. It was, like I said, it was a shot in the dark. And the lesson I learned is you hire this slick web dev guy, and he needs pictures of this, and he needs the images, and he needs these sizes and these sizes. And I'm thinking, I need at least 8 URLs, and so we sort of locked horns on how to create this together. Now we're getting the SEO done, and we're using a brilliant SEO fellow, and everything's changing because now we do have keywords, we do have a competitive analysis to look at, and that is giving us so much information. I know now we're going to be able to knock it out of the park because now I know who we're talking to. So to your point, Daryl, somebody's going to tell me to write this way. I'm going to look at what the audience wants to digest, and I'm going to write for them. I'm going to write because I know now I've got these long-term keywords that I know people are searching 8,000 times a month for. So you bet there's going to be all kinds of content going out that is written to that specific keyword. Does that make sense?
I would also remind everybody, we had Chuck Hardwick from Dancing Panda Marketing did a presentation on Yoast. I'm a big fan of the Yoast
Yes.
plugin because it's an amazing tool that allows us, whatever planning we've done in terms of keyword and looking at our audiences. And we've always had two distinct audiences. We've got the bots and we've got the humans. And when in doubt, write for the humans. But now with a 2024 Google, which, say what you will about it, I do believe tries to give user experience the priority. They're going to be sending people to excellent content that, yes, is doing SEO best practices. But I mean, Yoast is if you do your due diligence and use the keyword search tools to get you towards, having a sense of what, and looking at the Google Analytics. Also, always remember to look at your competition, run analysis on your competition and see what keywords are getting them the kind of rankings that they're enjoying and the kind of prominence that they've established. And that gives you insights into, I never encourage anybody to copy anything, but emulation is how a lot of creativity and certainly marketing is a creative undertaking. You can take a page from their book, see how they're doing it, and then a tool like Yoast, write excellently, have a great writer, but a tool like Yoast can guide the writer along. Hey, we need to increase the density of this particular keyword string, or
yeah. When I'm loading blogs, Yoast is my best friend, and everything that I write, all the content I create is designed around what I'm learning from keyword searches and what I see competitors doing and what they're using, what they're talking to, and what kind of rankings they're getting. Yeah, that's it's going to be interesting to see in the next couple of months now that we've got this keyword research and a competitive analysis done for this project, how our rankings start moving up, because we've got a wealth of information to direct all the new content that's coming out. I could probably write 10 blogs now that are all going to perform well.
Yeah, usually when I build a site, I'll look at how the top ranking sites are structured, the type of keyword themes and topics before content's even written. It'll be, here's the site structure, here's so each page with a theme, and I interlink everything before I even start thinking full on about the content. That I usually don't. And then because you know your goal, but it's because that's a big part of it. Then you have the base of the user journey, then you get creative with each one because you know in the future where it's going to link.
And that's one of the great things about WordPress, I think, too, because it's a great, I continue to think of it as like, those of us old enough, I think we probably all are old enough to remember erector sets, which were these kits where you've got these parts and of course principles, that you can combine in all kinds of different ways to put together whatever you want. One of the things that I really love about WordPress is the ability to have, well, first of all, multiple users with different levels of access, but the ability to, if literally, if I'm laying there in bed and something strikes me, I can grab my tablet, which is always nearby. My phone and my tablet, are literally next to my head. I can open WordPress, open a draft, just type up some bullet points for a new page, a new post, whatever, and I can add to it as I go, and it doesn't become published until I say so. And the same goes for allowing other people. Just quick show of hands. Anybody else? Anybody using other people's content on their website besides their own?
I mean, collaboration.
Both collaboration and also there's a lot of content out there that can be shared on your website if you do it appropriately. But I mean, if and I'm not doing this right now. I am sharing other people's content, but I could have, ask Daryl, give him an author role on my WordPress site, have him create an article on lead ads, or have Holly, expound on her presentation, or just place her presentation on my website as an article. And the great thing about WordPress is you write herd on it. You can have that oversight. Where you guys all know you can have somebody write an article and it doesn't appear until an admin approves it. Which, because I know a lot of people who can write pretty well, but they don't really write really well for the web. And 80% of writing well for the web is formatting. Formatting in terms of making it very quick to scan, and like Holly was saying, also be able to expand. If you want to make a point, but you want to expound on it, you can have the point actually literally go on in a pop-up window or whatever way you wanted to do it. But you can, by putting in ways that the content is really digestible and quick to access. And it's not a lot of work if you have, now if you have to have somebody send you a Word document and then you have to grab it and paste it into a thing. But if you just give them a user role, make them an author, and set in your settings, make sure that all posts have to be approved by an admin.
You know what I found?
Yes, sir.
Is no one take this the wrong way. It's just been my observation because I've had to vet and find different people to finish my site. I think there's most on the average when you have the marketing, the community are good in one area. The number of people who understand the full spectrum of the website, from the technical to the content, the piece like Holly does, right? Like to actually visualize that. I mean, a lot of people don't. It's all right because it's a lot. This is not a bad thing. It's very complex. I found you have to find people who are good at a certain area, then link them together, because I'm having trouble finding the right people, even telling people I don't know, because I can see the whole thing after doing so many ends of it, but it's very complex, like you said. How do you make it rank, yet how do you make it convert? There's so many little things in there, and your brain has to get used to going to different frames of mind, from the robot to the human. It's not, yeah, it's very
Well, I
Yeah,
guess
if I could
it's
piggyback off that
it's
real
very
quick.
easy that you do need people specialized in the team. You almost need them to work together in certain pieces to effectively do it. Have people really good at a few parts of it, and then that's how you get a great site. Very few. I I haven't
No,
really met one person
absolutely.
that could actually
And
do all that. Very few of them that I've talked to over the
and
years.
I'll circle back to because maybe I didn't articulate it. It seems like you didn't understand what I was saying as well as I hoped. But
Maybe I
Brendan,
didn't. It's okay.
you had a
You can
comment.
elaborate. I may
Brendan,
not
you
have.
had a comment.
Well, just to piggyback off what Daryl's saying about getting people that fit the right roles, I think is absolutely what you have to do. And it's so hard. It's like you finding a unicorn, that's someone who's good at design, dev, marketing, who knows everything. And some people like to think they are, like, who knows? Everyone's got different skills. But what I'll say is I do know lots of developers and super talented designers that design all around lorem ipsum. They don't have any actual text on the site. They never look at text. They don't think about content ever. They don't think about conversions. They don't think about, and then on the flip side of that, I know super really good people with copy and marketing that don't know about heading titles. They, throw a bunch of H1s on a page. And so I hear you. I don't have a good answer for that. But I it's something I'm always thinking about, because I do kind of feel like I am between both worlds a lot. I came sort of prior doing SEO and now doing more development stuff. But and then I'll just really quickly add to that. In terms of organizing everything, I've been on a crusade to just be organized with everything. And so having a plan in place up front, where you have your site maps, and you need to have your site maps before you touch anything in the site. I know personally, I've designed so many sites where I just jump right into WordPress and start doing it. And I'm sure we've all done that. But my most successful projects are when there's just a little bit of pre-planning. Just if you can squeeze out a little bit of discovery, where you're, again, looking at people's websites that are in the same field, looking how they structure things, what kind of categories they have in their blogs, all that stuff. If they have a bunch of location pages that are hidden in the footer that you didn't discover, and then, I know there's so many things that go into that, but definitely I would say if you can squeeze out a little bit of discovery in your next project, I recommend it.
Well, and I'll circle back and say, okay, so prior to what Daryl said, so I was talking about the ability to add content, and I should bisect that into two phases. One, there's the content we create for the pre-launch, where we're actually building the website, and how you do that. I mean, myself, I have the ways that I do it. I have a document that I create. It's a content planner, which has a page per page, which has the name, maybe a subtitle, maybe the keyword strings that are going to be critical for that, what points we're trying to make, and then actual content. And that I can use to insert it. Generally at that stage of the website, I'm getting the content, generally speaking, from the client. And in most cases, I have to do. I'm a pretty decent writer, so I'll have to do, kind of serve as an editor slash writer to take their factual. Because let's face it, most websites, especially the DIYs, they're big on fact and not very big on marketing language and presenting things in such a way that it is scannable and compelling.
And they'll send you 4 paragraphs that is like a really nice 4 paragraphs, and then they say, well, I want this in the homepage. And it's like, well, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
you have to break that up into something, as you said, scannable. I think that's a great way to put it.
yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm the one building the website. So I will take their content. And to be honest with you, it's never really come up where there has been any, a client demands having more on the homepage than I want to have or anything. It's not an issue. If anything, the most common issue is getting content from clients. I mean, that's the battle cry throughout the developer community. But then, okay, so there's that, and how you do that, how you get the content, and how you get it in there. And I too, I love lorem ipsum, because I am a visual person, and websites will, to a great extent, rise or fall on the visuals of the layout. That being said, if you understand the SEO aspects of it, and not being, people don't like to engage with large blocks of text unless you do a really good job of presenting it to them in bite-sized chunks, whether that means bring the content down, compress it, You know, because most people will write more wordy than they need to, and you want to be really concise for the web. Or, you know, like Holly was saying, you have it, if there's an area that could be expounded on, you can have it be expounded on a separate page, you know, or a pop-up. But then so that's the content that you're putting on a website when you're building the website. Now, ongoing, once the site is launched, there's the content that you can add. And as Holly pointed out, the blog is a tremendous way of keeping. Remember, Google wants you to keep adding content. So the blog is an important tool. And it's great to be able to, you meet somebody at a networking event or at a meetup or whatever, and they have a particular voice and a particular expertise. And like I say, I can say, you know what? Either, you know, say Daryl has an article up on another website, I can ask him if I can share it on mine. Or I can ask him to write an article for my website if it's amenable to him, because it's going to give, excuse me, give my website some traffic appeal. It's also, since we're going to link it appropriately to his website and to his bio page and to, you know, wherever we want to go, whether it's a portfolio, it's going to also increase his credibility. So it's definitely a win-win. And that's where the user roles of WordPress are really good, because you can make it easy. You say, hey, listen, just log into my website, write your article, you know. And some people will say, well, I'm not really good at formatting stuff. And you say, that's fine. Just put the content up there. I'll get in there. I'll edit it. You can, you know, I won't publish it until you're comfortable with the way it looks, but I can make it look more pretty. I can make it more presentable. And especially now with AI, you know, there are some pretty powerful tools to say, okay, take this content and, you know, you can tell it what voice, make it a friendly voice, make it an authoritative voice, make it a more of a distinguished voice. You can determine voice, you can tell it how long to be. Somebody gives you a 1,200 page article and you need it to be 400 words. Can you compress this in 400 words? And ChatGPT or one of the other ones will comply. So anyway, Daryl, you had your hand up.
I had a question.
For whom?
I'm looking for feedback because when I'm working with different people, for example, I'll use Holly as an example. Okay, this is partly what I'm asking, how to improve my process. I'm thinking of sitemap, all the H1 tags, but I'm not a full-on creative. What I'm looking for is, how do I improve that process? I'm now doing it with someone else, and they're going to help me with my site, because I see all the way from A to Z. Okay, right? But how do I connect those two? Because I find that there's always room to improve. So even if Holly here, you know, these are ways to improve the process, it's open, because I find for me, it's, well, you just do all this, it's easy, right?
So,
But
Daryl,
my mind's going from here to here and I just see it all.
what I would suggest to you is, instead of going from here to here and see the whole thing, just pick one thing and see it and do it perfectly. Don't overwhelm yourself with seeing an entire the entire spectrum. Take it in baby steps so that you can get one thing done and know where it's going to go next, and then move on to that next thing. Then you've got one thing done.
I have it chunked out, so I have the steps. It's how do you communicate it to each, you know, okay, here's our site structure and the keywords. How do you move that along so also nothing gets lost? Because now you're moving it between different parties, so you're documenting it. So it's the process of it,
Yeah.
because once you get past that stage, it's because now you're going from developer handing off to creative, right? So what
Yeah.
does the person doing the writing need to understand about the SEO, yet they need certain liberty on creative, and
Uh,
not
the
black and white.
The creative needs to know the SEO. The creative needs to know the words that need to be used in there. The creative needs to know that. And their job, if they have any idea, like if they're good at what they're doing, is to take that data that you're providing them and then create the words based on the data that you've provided. Um,
Yeah. Maybe
does
they're
that
just
make
And
sense?
not.
ideally they've seen a wireframe of what the website's going to
Yeah.
look like too, because they need to have an idea of, okay, well, we're going with this type of hero image on all of our service pages, and we need to know how much text are we going to have in here. And that might not necessarily be the H1, but I mean, we need to have at least that's, again, it goes back to planning, like having a wireframe in place that you can collaborate on, and something in Figma where you have creatives, you have developers and designers that can go in there, leave comments, and that's something to consider.
That's exactly what I ran into, Brendan, with this big project that we were working on. Um, what you said before is the marketing people come in and they'll put H1s everywhere. Yeah,
Not always, but
well,
just an example.
I've been that person. I have
Yeah.
absolutely been that person. But when I was working with this fellow, um, I got schooled on the details that you have to think about and the small things that you have to write to make a website go. And I'm not sure he got schooled on what the marketing person needs in order to turn it into something that people are going to go to. Like, I drive traffic there, that's my job. Um, but it was absolutely a huge learning curve for me, and one I'd love to take on again because I know I'm going to be better at it now.
Well, and it's too bad you said that he didn't, or this person didn't, or the developer didn't really take anything with it, because I think that is the best part of working with people with two different skill sets, is there's a little bit of give and take there.
I gotta say though, his websites, like he is such a great designer, and he used to be a photographer, and he's got an eye for design like nothing I've ever seen before.
Mhm.
It's very
And
cool.
there's a lot of designers and developers who have no marketing mind. You
Yeah,
know,
Mhm.
it's like in a sense, the what would be a good analogy, somebody who can build you a beautiful custom car but has no idea how to drive. You know,
Mhm.
they're
And sometimes those are the best developers and
well,
designers
I,
that don't know
this
any marketing, right?
this is why I'm drawn to the team process, because yeah, I've been building websites now for 25 years. So I have a pretty holistic view of the whole process, and I've done it in a number of different ways. And at least well, pre WordPress it was HTML now, and Dreamweaver mostly, but now it's WordPress. But in terms of the how, the why, and the how, and the who, and all of that of the website, it's remained fairly consistent. I put my content planner because this is an important document in my process. And you guys are all talking about the H1 tag. H1 is important, but remember the title is only part of it. In my ideal page, and to an extent a post, is going to have the H1, which is the title, and the H1 might be very simple. I'm a big fan of the H2, because in WordPress it's going to be kind of a subtitle to the page, and I think it's critical. It's going to be part of. Remember, Google's always watching. The Google bots don't just look for H1s; they see what else. And in terms of organizing your content, an H2 kind of explains the H1, and then I get to, sections are always for me H3s. And then within H3s, I'll generally have a combination of paragraph content and bullet points, either
Right.
straight bullet points or numbered lists, because that makes it scannable. I want that content to be found. And remember, we can always use anchor links. It can be important. It can be useful to have those anchor links laid out at the top of the page, so somebody can just click on it and go straight to the content below, or they can scroll down to it. But it's scannable. Somebody can look at my whole page. I try to limit length. It's even in my contract. Pages are so many pixels long, because I've seen pages that I've inherited that go on forever and ever and ever and ever. And that's more the tendency nowadays, I guess. There's a lot of run-on pages, but I try to,
Edward,
yeah,
that's what I've been reading. Part of it is to do with mobile. People get caught on one thing. It's easier to scroll and scroll and scroll, and they're used to it than clicking a hamburger when you're on a desktop. So you'd have to see data to back it all up. That's been my understanding on why. If
yeah,
data backs
there's
it
no,
up, then maybe it is the way to go, but
some
things
of it is,
change. It's
well, some of it
interesting.
is philosophy, because I mean, we have to keep in mind also some statistics. I mean, what was it? 2014 was when we hit the point where more people were viewing the web on mobile than on desktop. But let's remember also that conversions are still higher on desktop. So there's something to be said for that. And conversions are not, inconsequential. So I mean, this is where the art and science comes together.
I would throw attribution in there too. It starts a lot of the buying process.
Well, anyway, my
So
point
they
was,
both matter.
don't just think about
I'm
your
getting
H
technical. I'll just
for
you go
every,
ahead.
yeah.
I'm going in the weeds.
So here's while Daryl goes into the weeds, what I was starting to get into is in my content planner. Yes, we do have like a rough, and it's going to be separate. This is really only an example to give people a sense of how we're thinking about pages, which is by and large homepage, secondary pages, tertiary pages, maybe a quadrilateral page. Um, and I do have a separate format because I consider the about us extremely important. But for the basic page content, we've got a name. I'm going to redo this because this is really more for the H2, keyword, key phrase, if the client has the wherewithal to have a sense of what they're thinking of keywording that particular page, if they have some content, if they have some images. Goal of the page, talk about goals. What is this page supposed to achieve? And then there's a place for my notes. And then scrolling to the end, and a lot of these are just repetitive pages to do other ones. I'm a big fan of case studies. If I can get my clients to put together case studies, and I'll help them do it. But this is the situation. This is the company name, either specific or just giving you the general. We had a liquor store owner or a liquor store specializing in high-end tequila, whatever it is. This is the background, the situation. Client has an old, outdated site or whatever the situation is, challenges involved, whatever they may be, the solution, how we helped, and then the outcome. And if we can emphasize this with pictures, that's all great. But keep in mind that H1, H2, don't just stop at H1. See if that's where content and creative come together. Anybody can do an about page, but maybe the H2 might be how our company can help you to do this. It might be, kind of a mission statement-ish sort of thing. But the H2 is very important. H3s are great ways. I mean, this is how Google reads our pages. They want to know what the title is, but they also want to know that this is key. Because remember, unless you're giving specific snippets that you want to appear in your searches, Google's going to take it upon themselves to do it for you, and you can certainly curate that with your H2s and your H3s. So anyway.
I
Does
like
that make
this. I'm gonna
sense,
start
Daryl?
using this. I actually have a copy. It's actually that answer that I kind of didn't. That's the easiest way to handle this. Take a sitemap, do this.
I love this. This is great, Evan.
Yeah, this is a great resource here. One of the
Yeah.
things I would, if you could scroll back to the very top where you have the actual sitemap for a minute.
Yeah, and it's really more of a sitemap example because
Mhm.
I'm not gonna put the sitemap here. I'm probably gonna do it in MindMeister or something like that. I mean, there's a number of different tools available where you can flowchart because we're
Yeah.
basically talking about a flowchart. I like MindMeister. There's others where you can just quickly just say, okay, this is the home page. This is my second level. This is my third level. It'll allow you to mentally do it. I mean, I've been working in WordPress for what, 15 years. So I will sometimes just go by using the menu, um, tool,
Yeah.
because there is some degree of site mapping there. I mean, the thing you want to do is not, I think, was it you, Holly, that we were talking about the Winchester Mystery House? Somebody, I used the example of the Winchester Mystery House. No, it was a client. The Winchester Mystery House is a great old house. The widow of the Winchester fortune inherited this house, and a medium told her that she was being tortured by the spirits of all the people killed by the Winchester rifle, and the solution to doing to getting these spirits off her back was to take this house and build on it. And so you have an example of building without planning. And I recommend anybody visit it. It's the greatest metaphor for a WordPress site gone wild, because you've got stairs that go into the ceiling, you've got stained glass windows that will never see sunlight, you've got doors that open onto a two-story drop, you've got the craziest architectural features. The whole thing is amazing, and it's actually one of my bucket list things. It's supposedly haunted. So
Right. Are you gonna go at night? I
my
have
bucket
watched them and people went at night. I don't know whether it is or not, but people
my
go, I heard stuff.
my bucket list is to go there and take the Halloween evening
Nice.
flashlight tour. They have a flashlight tour at midnight.
Old
But
news.
anyway, it's you want to be careful that you don't go crazy and have multiple things, because I mean, I just recently worked on a site that was such a cluster flop. It was ridiculous. But this gives the client a sense of how we look at these things. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
does it merit content on the home page, or is it something that we want to draw people into in order to and I realize bounce rate isn't as important as it used to be, but an important metric is, time on site and engagement, and having secondary pages that are worthy of drawing people in,
And
that are, go ahead.
for the purposes of a marketing strategy, consider that if you're going to drive traffic to your website, you need a URL that has a featured image that is compelling and interesting, that you can load into Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Well, not necessarily Instagram, but all your social channels. So if you don't want every post you make to look the same, you need every page, every URL to have a distinctive, thought-provoking featured image, and the little snippet at the bottom of it that gives viewers enough information to make them click on it.
Now,
Um,
I do have a lead tool, and Daryl helped me put it together. It's a 17 fixes to make your site. I forget how exactly it's called. 17 fixes why your website isn't performing, and it does talk about things like, a lot of people will have the same exact snippet for every single page. So if you grab the URL for any page, it's going to have the same exact description. So you want to make sure that your descriptions are different, your snippets are different, so that if somebody does share it, which is what we want people to do, it's going to have that compelling image. That's going to, by the way, I mean, if you put up a landscape image, and WordPress does this really good for us. It shows us what the square version of it, because a
yeah.
lot of times that landscape image is going to be cropped into a square. That may work and may not, and that's important as we choose
Most,
our images.
most social channels want square. Um, for sure, you do end up with, the images getting kind of messed up when you load them into a social media channel, for sure. And the other thing, it's really important to remember as we talk about the buyer journey and this thing, is that if you show up in a Google search 75% of the time, a searcher is going to click onto your social channel first, Facebook or LinkedIn, probably the top. Sometimes it might be Instagram, because they're looking for social proof. They're looking for that trust and authority. They're looking to see if you're an actual real life people and that you're active. It's good to have recent posts on there and all of that. So considering that you're going to get that kind of traffic to your social media channel, you don't want every post to look the same, which is why if you're driving traffic to the website, you need diversity in images.
And that's what the great thing about, and you know, our expert would be Daryl on this. If you when you place an ad on Meta or LinkedIn or whatever, I know for Meta anyway, LinkedIn, I haven't done that many ads, but generally speaking, you will see they'll generally have different ways that your ad will show up. This is
Yeah.
how it looks on a desktop. This is what it looks like on an iPhone. This is what it looks like on a tablet, a different resolution. So this is where science and art kind of come together. There's no way to make sure that everything looks perfect, but there are tools available to help you make it look as universally appealing. And you can use, instead of appealing, effective, because that's even better word.
Yeah, when you're scheduling in Meta now, the tools provided there, you can put in the same copy, well, Instagram doesn't really do URLs, but the image, then you can toggle back and forth between how it's going to look on Instagram and how it's going to look on Facebook. And you can change and you never want a portrait style photo on Facebook. You need to have square or landscape. Otherwise, you get those black bars along the side of it.
Yep.
Being cognizant of photo sizes with those channels, it changes. Stories have to be in portrait. Otherwise, you get a bad look and you get
Oh
cropped.
yeah.
That's why
I
Holly
mean,
does social media and I don't.
What's that?
That's her lane.
Well,
can
I mean,
keep
like it or
that.
not, there's a lot of TikTok content, and that is absolutely all portrait. You know, Instagram again, portrait. You know,
Mhm.
I'm a big fan. I'm a a legacy photographer. You know, who cut his teeth on Ansel Adams, so I love broad, beautiful imagery, but I don't get to do that. You know, I mean, I can put a big, beautiful image, and the world is going to say, nope, sorry, we're going to cut out everything except for this part, and that part better be clickable. It better catch the eye, on the, in our feeds, on our pages. Because if our recent posts, that sort of thing, where it's showing a thumbnail, or your social media, whatever it is. So these are things there are some tools, by the way. I mean, if you use something like Blog to Post, which is a social sharing tool that is a plugin in WordPress, that also has previews. And I found that I never want the default. So I generally it'll show you, this is how it's going to look in LinkedIn. This is how it's going to look in WordPress. I mean, sorry, in Meta. This is how it's going to look on Twitter.
Edward.
Yes, sir.
Holly mentioned she's got to go in a few minutes. Not sure if you saw in the chat. So I was going to say, if anyone has questions for her, I wanted to say, there's
Yeah, I
probably a
didn't
few minutes. If
re-open.
anyone, here's your opportunity. If anyone who hasn't spoken up yet or said much, just want to make sure everyone has a chance.
I'll just go
Yeah.
really quick. I see the other guys are muted, but thank you, Holly, for all those expertise and I think there's a lot of really good things for people that are not in marketing to like just listen to what you have to say. And you've I think you said butted heads a couple times. I think that's okay to do sometimes. So thank you for that, and I'm happy to connect and chat more too.
That's great. Thanks, Brendan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sometimes butting heads gently is part of, customer relations, and the difference between losing the customer by pissing him off and convincing the customer that that you know what you're doing is how you articulate it.
In this case, we were collaborating on the project together, and you know, he's very set in how he does things. So it was a bit of a challenge, but we worked through it, and now he's on it. And he's working with me and he's understanding why the challenge is. Because, okay, go look at the Facebook page. Every single post looks the same. Could you give me some featured images? Because this doesn't look good on you, my friend. So I understand ever so much more about web development now. Um, and the intricacies of that, I'm fascinated by it. And he understands why it matters to listen to somebody like me. So um, we
Yeah, when
now
it comes, by the way, when it
That's
comes
good.
to imagery, and I'll thank Daryl because he pointed me. I've been using Deposit Photos for a long time, which really has, I think, the best search capacity for looking at images, be they JPEGs or vectors or whatever you need.
And they're back on AppSumo right now too. Go get your credits for deposit photos if you need them.
Yeah, I've got hundreds. I've got hundreds of credits on Deposit Photos, so it's no longer a problem. If somebody's not giving me what I need, I can find it, and I love the fact that they do have the ability to say, I just want portraits, I just want landscape, I want my images to be, to exclude faces. Sometimes I want to show a team working, but I don't want to show that cheesy stock photography thing of two people shaking hands, I mean, all that stuff. I want to be a little bit more subtle, and it allows me to say, show no faces, show faces. There's a lot of parameters that I can set, and that makes it easier to pick a featured image because I've already curated it in the search, and if the client's not helping,
Hi, Ollie.
you out of
bye.
here, Holly.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you
Have a good
very
evening.
much. Have a
Welcome.
good night. Take care.
Bye.
I'm gonna eat pretty soon here too.
Well, you do know our meeting ends at 7:30, so
Yeah, maybe this is a good
Greg,
time to start.
winding down. Yeah, Greg, you've been pretty quiet this whole time. Have you had any challenges that you wanted to bring forth?
Probably not to be gutted tonight. Tonight's not the night to get into it, but yeah, I've got some stuff going on, but
Okay.
I've got somebody coming over in a couple minutes, so
And we can end a little early if we need to. How about Travis and Mike? You guys have been pretty quiet.
I'm just listening in, always soaking in information.
Okay.
I
Mike,
have no
have you
challenges
put
in my
any?
life.
I'm
Okay.
jealous.
You want to put
I
some
only
links?
have annoyances,
Yeah,
and,
believe me.
and I ignore them, and they usually go away.
Yeah, last time Mike and I stayed around for an hour afterwards to air those annoyances. Um, do you have any, you want to put some links in the chat, Mike, for some of your WooCommerce? Brendan, Mike Noter is kind of a maven in the WooCommerce world, and he's
That's
got,
great because I can't stand doing e-commerce and I love to refer it out. So
there's your
Yeah,
man,
there's
Mike
some of the
Noter.
people in this meetup, they run 60, 80 WooCommerce meetups. I host it, but I have half a dozen advanced WooCommerce and developers that are usually supported in the group. I'll get the link.
great.
It's every Wednesday at noon Pacific time.
I don't know how somebody can have that many meetups going and do anything other than that. You know what I mean?
Maybe
Um,
get some
I
lots of
know I do
leads.
6 or 8 a month. Not that
yeah.
big a deal. The WooCommerce, I do spend 2 or 3 hours because I do a news portion. And so I've got Woo News, I got Word News, and I have free resources, and I have other meetups like this meetup. I
Did
will
you put
advertise for you.
did you put your links in the chat?
Yeah, let me run that down. I'll just give you the meetup.
Yeah, your main link.
Yeah, this will take you to the
For
meetup
resources.
page, and then you can just, if you're
So I will remind you guys. Oh, we don't have a presentation for June. I'm putting how to save the chat. I always encourage you to save the chat right before you go. I'll give you guys time to do that so you have the full chat. But we need somebody to do a presentation. in June. So if you know anybody from your worlds who might be appropriate for that, please reach out to me. Otherwise, we can always just have a regular meeting next month, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more attendance. But as we found with, Magic Will's thing was pretty well attended, and it is a process of having that draw of the special presentation. I thought we'd get more interesting content strategy, but maybe we'll get something else next month. So if you think of something, or you know somebody that you've seen present a compelling pitch on any Zoom or anywhere, please reach out to me and I'll reach out to them. All right, so as we wrap up, any ideas for us moving forward? No? All
I mean,
right.
I talked to you about giving some kind of talk. I mean, I got tons of topics I can go on and
Yeah,
on
let's.
about. I mean, so like if you don't find anyone else, I'd be happy to step up. And I
Well,
know I'm new, but
while we've got our panel assembled here, is there a particular topic that comes to mind, or something that you have a PowerPoint ready to go on?
not the second of the two. I just kind of talk, but I'll organize something. But one thing
Yeah,
that I do have in mind is custom post types, because it does fit into what we're talking about today. It's
you
the
did
most
mention.
underutilized part of WordPress, and
Okay.
it helps SEO strategy, it helps organization, it helps scaling your site, and it does everything. So
Well,
custom
yeah.
post types.
So, yeah, we definitely, this is something that gets posted on YouTube. So we don't want to just have somebody talking. We need to have some visual guides to bring us along. In terms of putting it together, it doesn't have to be terribly complicated, but I do recommend that points be presented, rather than just throw out a page and just read the page. It's best to do bullet points. And the bullet points, if you're sophisticated enough in PowerPoint to be able to know how to do animation so that different points on a page appear when you hit the space bar, or whatever you're using to proceed.
Mhm.
Or you can sometimes just have a plain white page where a bullet point appears per slide. That's viable too, and I've seen it be pretty successful. Obviously, pictures that accompany these points make the whole thing a whole lot more interesting, especially if it's going to be, if you're just doing a 2-3 minute video, that text on white can be effective, but for 20-30 minutes, that can get
Mhm.
a little tiresome, So, and if anybody needs any help with that, reach out to me. I'm not as up to the most recent versions of PowerPoint, but I've done some pretty sophisticated presentations in the past. But simplicity is always a key. You don't have to have it type every single letter, or have it fly on and explode into existence or anything like that. Just have good strong points, and then you elaborate over the points. It doesn't have to be that hard, but we do
Mhm.
want to have something to present visually.
That makes sense.
All
So,
right.
so
Yeah.
getting back to that custom post types, were you thinking about maybe presenting on that, and are you
I,
using
Yeah.
ACF?
I
It's
use
custom
ACF and MetaBox
and Metabox,
every
yeah.
day, and I build almost every site with them because it's
It's a
just
very, very, very powerful tool, and that would be a great topic.
yeah.
I
I've freelanced with so many agencies that are huge and that they don't even use them, and
Yeah,
it
people
comes
don't
back.
understand just how powerful they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And like
it
it's
really
just built.
extends WordPress.
It
Yeah,
really does. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So that's a
Brendan,
great suggestion.
do you think that a month is enough time for you to put together some visuals to accompany a presentation on custom post types?
I think I could put myself to the task. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got you down for
Is this
June.
in person or is this
No,
also
no,
on
it's like
Zoom or?
this. You would
Okay.
basically do what Holly just did.
Or
Um,
remote. Yeah,
That's a
Holly's
lot.
in Vancouver, so
And
We
a
wouldn't be
company,
able to meet very easily.
I thought for some reason I saw that this week or this month was online and next month was in person, but I might have just misread it. So that's good. That's great. More
I
than
don't ever see that happening. We never have. This is a San Diego, California based group. And right now, Travis and I are the only ones in San Diego. We've got Mike up in
I'm in
Washington,
Point
Daryl
Loma,
in
sir.
Vancouver. Oh, that's right. You're okay. So there's three of us. So the three of us, I'd love to get together with the three of us and get a cup of coffee and,
Absolutely.
wherever, Del Mar or something like that. But in the meantime, this group seems to be. I had hoped we might get back to an in-person thing because the last time this group met before I became the organizer prior to pandemic was in person in not in Point Loma, it was in Ocean Beach, close enough.
Mhm.
Um, I don't see that we're ever going to be able to transition back to in person. I just don't see it happening. The world has embraced Zoom, and it's also allowed us to have friends everywhere. That
It's a hybrid though. I
this
definitely
subject-
meet in person if you can. I do in-person stuff here. I mean, to go down there, yeah, if I was down there on holidays at some point, I'd go and meet up, right? But it's not something you're gonna do all the time. I would keep it hybrid. That's what most are doing, right? There's power to just sitting down by the beach and having a coffee
Hey,
together.
Mhm.
I certainly
So
am not
yeah, I
shutting the
would.
door on that. But I mean, Daryl, I mean,
Well, this might.
the commute might be a little difficult for
Well,
you.
that's what I was saying. Buy me a ticket in a hotel and I'll go down there for a weekend.
Yeah, you missed WordCamp a couple years ago, huh?
But this is
Yeah.
good for now though. Oh yeah, this is good.
No, this is great. I mean,
Well, and
it's
not to go off
funny,
topic,
man.
Ed,
Yes,
but
sir.
I did speak with God, I can't remember their names. I don't have it pulled up here, but there's two guys that are interested in restarting the San Diego WordPress group. Like, I don't know what that entails, but I guess there's some interest there. So I don't know if
The
that's
one
something you're
Chuck
interested
shut
in.
But specifically, yeah, that one's been dormant for a while, and
Yeah,
they want to do it in person.
I guess that's the idea. Yeah. Maybe,
Hey,
but also
I'd
hybrid
go.
too, because a lot of people are not, people live in North County, or, I mean, I guess there's another meetup group there too, but
Yeah.
yeah, hybrid. I mean, I can help set up hybrid stuff too. I mean, if we have cameras and whatnot. Yeah, it's just an idea.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we get to the point where we've got right now 1,020 people signed up for this group, but I mean, I think last time was our highest attendance, and it was what, 14 people showed up for Magic Will's presentation, so that's fairly modest compared to our potential, that's nowhere near 10%, but anyway. I'd love to see it, I actually don't want to see this. I can't imagine us, where you go to those meetup groups where you have to scroll to a second page to see everybody who's in attendance. You never hear from everybody. I kind of like some of the more intimate ones. We can have up to what, 40 people on a page. But yeah, whatever this group wants to do, I'm the organizer, and things get done by those that show up, sort of thing. So, but if we
Right.
can kind of keep our asks modest, because sometimes we can get some pretty impressive aspirations, and actually making them happen is a different thing. But I'm going to put it as a goal for this group that we get to the point where we're all making so much money that we can fly Mike and Daryl and Greg down from
And Holly.
and Holly. She's also
She's
up
in
in.
Canada too, near kind of near where I am. So
Yeah,
oh,
you guys are both kind of outskirts of Vancouver, sort of thing.
no, she's kind of, yeah. I'm more the interior of she's coastal.
Well, I figure if we get to that point, we can afford to fly you both down, right?
I've got some other
Sorry.
good friends down in San Diego. I'd love to come down.
Or
Yeah.
we could, if we got to the point where we could do a WordPress cruise, so we all meet down at the
There you go.
cruise ship
And
terminal in
yeah,
San Diego, and we all head to Guadalajara or to
either that or Greg, you're right in the middle of us then, basically, right? If you're in Mount Shasta, that's sort of.
Yeah.
yeah,
Come on up.
we could do an Alaska cruise. That might make more sense.
I could introduce you to some of my rafting friend guides. We can go raft the Klamath.